Every 4 years, people are glued to their TVs watching the Summer Olympics during July and August. I know I was this past summer. By a show of hands, how many of you watched some part of the Olympics in London? All of you, obviously. An article in the Huntington Post said that NBC's TV coverage of the London Olympics actually made this Olympics the most watched TV event in U.S. history. And I know for me, I was watching every night and I loved it, and hopefully most of you were as well. My favorite event happens to be a little bit different than probably what most of yours is. It's the steeplechase. It's a track and field event. How many of you, by another show of hands, were able to watch the steeplechase at some point during the Olympics? 2. Okay, great. Kind of what I figured, not too surprising. How many of you that didn't watch it even know what the steeplechase is? Good. Also what I was hoping. According to, and that, again, that's fine. I'm not trying to say, oh, it's the greatest event. It's my passion. That's something I do. But again, hopefully tonight I can help you learn a little bit more about it. But according to Ann Gaffigan, who's the former American record holder in the women's steeplechase, the steeplechase is the coolest Olympic event you've never heard of. It looks a little bit something like this, and tonight I want to help you guys learn a little bit more about it, and we're going to do that in 3 ways. First, we're going to go over the rules of the steeplechase. Second, we're going to talk about how the steeplechase originated. And then third, we're going to finish up with what makes the steeplechase so exciting to watch. So to begin, let's go over some of the basic rules of the steeplechase. According to Dr. James Fields, who's the editor of the Women's Steeplechase Report, he's an expert on the steeplechase. It's a track and field distance running race that consists of the following. It's 7.5 laps around the track, or as I would say, and track people would, in track knowledge, say 3,000 meters long. Each competitor has to complete 35 jumps over barriers and water jumps in the race, and each lap out of the 7, there's 4 regular barriers and there's 1 water jump, which we're going to get into a little bit more. This is an on-track hurdle, or what I would refer to as a barrier. So there's 4 of these per lap that a competitor jumps over, and there's 7 laps, so 28 of these in a race. They span across, as you can see, about 3 lanes of the track. They're about 4 by 4 inches around, and they're very sturdy and basically bolted down into the track. So they're not like the typical hurdle where they'll just, fall over if you run into them. They're not going to move. And for guys, they're 36 inches off the ground, and for girls, they're 30 inches off the ground. In addition, there is 1 water jump per lap, which is basically what most people know the steeplechase event to be from. So the water jump is a barrier followed by a long pit. It's 12 feet in length, approximately, and it's filled with water, and it kind of, at its deepest point, is 2.5 feet, and it slopes up to meet the track, and again, 12 feet long. And the technique that most people use, and I would use if I'm doing this event, is you step on the top of the barrier and basically launch yourself over the water pit, and that's part of the race. And you can imagine in a track and field race, obviously a competitive one, like the Olympics, multiple people are going to be going over this at the same time, and it can often lead to problems, which we'll also get into in a little bit. So that's basically all about the basic rules of the steeplechase. Now let's talk about how the steeplechase originated. It started in England back in 1865 at Oxford University, and it started as a 2-mile race on a flat grass field over barriers, and it basically developed from there into the Olympic event and the modern steeplechase as we know it today. It's named after the steeplechase barriers in horse racing. A lot of people, if they're talking to me saying, oh, what event do you run? I say the steeplechase. They say, oh, like the horse race? I'm saying, yes, but no, it's, humans running over these things, but it's basically named after the horse race, and it became an Olympic event in 1900 for the men, so they've been running it for 112 years, every 4 years since then, and it only became an event for the women in the Olympics in 2008, so a lot more recent, but it's definitely grown and been great for the sport. That's basically, without boring you too much, how the event originated. Now let's get a little bit into what makes the steeplechase exciting to watch. So for this speech, everyone had to interview someone who is an expert or a, very into your passion. For me, I said the steeplechase. Who can I interview on this event that really could, people could relate to and be a credible source? And I thought of one man, Horace Ashenfelter. This is Horace right here. This is a picture from 1952 at the Helsinki Olympics, and he ended up beating this Russian in the race. He has also set the world record in that race, and he's the only American ever to win the steeplechase in the Olympics. So I figured, you might not think I'm the most credible source about this, but he definitely is, and he knows what it's about. And in my interview, I asked him, Horace, what do you think makes the steeplechase so exciting and why people love it? And again, this is a 90-year-old man on the phone with me, and he jumps right into the answer and says, without a doubt, the water jump and the falls that happened because of it. And he started laughing, and he said, I put some pictures up here of of what could happen in the water jump, but he said it can get bloody, violent, dangerous, nasty, just rattling off all these answers. And I'm saying I totally agree with you, and especially being a steeplechaser myself, it's absolutely what people love about the steeplechase, the water jump. And a side note, yes, that's me, if you couldn't recognize, I've run the steeplechase many times. I've only fallen down once in the water, and at first I was not happy in the race because it, excuse me, slowed me down. But there was actually a guy sitting right about here taking pictures of this, and again, just some more pictures to show you what can happen when multiple people go over it at the same time. I'll let the pictures speak for themselves, but this is me with a guy from Yale. He actually stumbled coming out of the water pit, and I collided into him, and basically, I'm spiking his leg in that picture, and I just shove him down. He's the track again. It's all funny, but again, my legs were beat up and bloody. I had a blown up knee. His face ate the track. He was cut up. I felt so bad after, but also there's in the stands, this is a big relay event, there's about 3,000 people sitting up here rooting you on to fall. So when I fell and we fell over it, the place went crazy, and it was, okay, not the most fun for me, but at least it gave everyone a free show. So that's, again, basically why the steeplechase is so exciting to watch, the water pit. Let's quickly recap, and then we'll finish up the talk. But again, we went over the rules of the steeplechase, we went over how the steeplechase originated, and finally, with some of those pictures I just showed you, what makes the steeplechase so exciting to watch. So, in my interview, I also asked Mr. Ashenfelter, what do you think the steeplechase can teach people about real life? And he paused. And every other answer, and this is the last question, every other question I asked him, he was giving me quick answers. So I'm like, all right, this is going great. He paused, and I'm saying this was not the right question. Maybe there's nothing he feels that can relate to real life. And then he said, I think that's a great question. The steeplechase is the perfect metaphor for real life because all the barriers that the runners have to get over are just like the challenges and obstacles that people face in their everyday life. In order to get over them, all you have to do is focus and dig deep down into your heart, and you can find the strength that it takes to overcome them. So I leave you with this. Next time you come across a problem or an obstacle in your own life, hopefully you can think about my passion, my speech, and the steeplechase, and you can find the strength to get through it like myself and Horace do in the race. And that is with me with him last year. That's him. I want a race named after him, but thank you.